Coming here. I'm excited to be here to share with all of you about the trends for Asia in 2018. Before we jump straight into the sharing, maybe just for me to have a sense of you guys, can you guys shout out what's your background? Is it startups, VC, brands, company? You guys need a little warm up here. VC. The rest? Sorry? Brand consulting, okay. Investor? Mentor? Startup? SME center. Okay, quite a varied audience that we have this afternoon. So today we're gonna talk about the trends for 2018, but not just the trends itself. We're gonna have a little introduction about who we are from TrendWatching, what do TrendWatching do, and how we can actually arrive at all these trends. I understand from Block 71 that you guys have a lot of questions for today that you have sent across previously, so I will make the presentation shorter and just leave more room for Q&A. But before that, just a little introduction about who I am. My name is Nathania Christy. You can call me Nia, and I work at TrendWatching. I'm the head of Global Insight Network for TrendWatching. And as part of the trend analyst team in Asia, I work with a lot of clients and institutions. Our clients are usually big brands such as Unilever, Shell, ranging from B2B to B2C, but mostly B2C sector. And then I work with institutions as well, schools, universities across Asia Pacific. So that's the market that I take care of. Well, for today, why are we here? Because maybe part of it because we understand that business today look a lot like this. It's a constant avalanche of new product, new services coming into your way. And amidst all this changing business landscape, you guys, brands, consultants, everyone try to answer this very simple question, but yet it's very hard to answer. And that question that most of you might be asking, or if not, you should be asking yourself is, what will my consumer want next? And a lot of people try to find the answer to this question, and some people, they go on and do market research. They go and ask the consumers what they want directly. Some do field research, ethnographic research, but that's not what we do at TrendWatching. We have a different approach to answer this question, a very counterintuitive one, you might find, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. But first, who are we? And when we talk about trends, what do we mean by trends? Because it's in our name, TrendWatching, but what do we mean by trends? Trends are not fads. They're not things that just quickly come and go, like this fidget spinner, for example. That's not what we mean when we say or we talk about consumer trends. And it's not just about fashion either. People think that we cover fashion trends, but that's not what we do at TrendWatching. And it's more than just technological change. A lot of you here are in the tech scene, most probably, because Block 71 is the one that invited you. But actually, TrendWatching, we cover more than just tech trends. Tech is a big part, a big driver of change, but we don't dig deep into technological trends. So most probably, you guys would know more about tech trends than me. Well, this is how we define consumer trend. It's a new manifestation among people of a fundamental human need, want, or desire. So we observe a lot of innovations, a lot of things that happen in the market, but we measure it up against the basic fundamental human needs. So when we see something new, we ask ourselves, how does this satisfy a basic human needs such as security, for example, or the need for status, the need for recognition, the need for connection. That's how we see a new trend when something that comes up in the market, a new thing that comes up in the market actually satisfy basic human needs. This is what we do. We give out a lot of free content to our subscribers. We are a trend consulting company, consumer trend. And then we do Innovation of the Day, which is a newsletter that where we discuss each innovation each day, but we don't just give it out to the market, but we analyze what does this innovation mean for your business and how can you apply this to other industries as well. So we are all about cross-industry insights. We also do workshops and keynotes like what we're having today. So we do this for our clients, for institutions, as well as for agencies, and we do speak in conferences as well. As part of our product, we have a premium service, and this is an online database of 17 to 19,000 innovations that are each tagged to a trend or a mega trend or a region or a specific industry. A lot of our clients use this database to find ideas and inspirations and how they can adapt all these innovations to their own business. But all that we do is powered by this community that I am leading, and it's called the TrendWatching Insight Network, or TWIN in short. We just recently made a move to Slack, so now we are a Slack-based platform. And we have close to 800 professionals who are marketeers, or they are innovation consultant in their company, consumer insight manager, students, and they're just all passionate about discovering the latest around the world. And they, in the community, they share innovations on the ground that they spotted. And all that we do after being around for 15 years and communicating who we are, what we do to our clients, a lot of them ask us, so what is it actually, what do you do, and how do you put an overall end-to-end methodology to what you're doing? So a few of our colleagues in London and Amsterdam and New York, they author this book called Trend-Driven Innovations. You can purchase it on Amazon if you're interested. And basically in this book, we tell you all the secrets behind what we do and how we do it, how we spot trends and innovations. And so maybe some of you are here because you want to answer this question. What will your consumer want next, but also how you can have future vision. So this is our approach that I tell you earlier. At TrendWatching, we believe that future vision doesn't come from asking the consumer what they want. So we don't do surveys, we don't ask the consumers, we don't do field research, we don't do focus group discussions. But rather, we believe that future vision comes from watching businesses first and asking consumers second. So business innovation is at the heart of what we do at TrendWatching. Every day our analysts around the world, they scan for innovations and they submitted it into the database, they analyze it, and then from clusters of innovations we can then tell what are the future, how is it gonna be, and what we think the consumers will want next. And just a disclaimer, even though the title says we're gonna look at the crystal ball, sorry, there's no crystal ball because we are not in the business of predicting what's gonna be happening in the future. We're more interested in what's happening now. So based on what's happening now, we see all these innovations and then we ask ourselves, what are the expectations that are being created for the consumers by seeing all these new innovations? And so we don't predict, but we analyze what's happening now and therefore advise our clients. We think the consumers will want this in the future. And a lot of our clients actually ask us, okay, so you're giving me innovations and you're giving me trends, as we're gonna see later on as well, but actually, why do I have to watch competitors from other industries? Because we believe in cross-industry insights and that any innovation, any trend can be applied to any industry. Well, because we believe that once an expectation is created from a set of innovation, it will transfer across industries, across region, across borders, because consumers don't live in industry silos, only businesses live in industry silos. So if you're only watching competitors from your own industry, you're like all these people who are ducking their heads in the sand, because you should be watching at other industries as well. And the important takeaway is to see and ask yourself, what are the expectations that is being created from this particular innovations? And talking about expectation transfers, it means that whatever business you are in, your competitors are actually the best in class out there, regardless of their industry. So Red Bull could be your competitor because they're doing such a great marketing, and Apple could be your competitor in terms of design. And Patagonia could be your competitor in terms of their ethics and sustainability, for example. And as we look at all the innovations later, an important thing, again, to set the presentation in context is to look past the ridiculous. Do you guys know what this is? Yeah, you've seen it before. It's a self-parking slipper created by Nissan in a hotel in Tokyo. So you might think that this is unnecessary, this is ridiculous, but ask yourselves what are the expectations that are being created through these innovations. That means consumers are going to want the next level of convenience. They're going to want automation, for example. So always look beyond the innovation itself to analyze what is the underlying insight there. And so that's why we think it's important to track trends, because it will help you meet and surpass consumers' rapidly changing expectations. And how do we track trends? How do we know what are the upcoming trends for this year, for example? So we scan the globe for innovations, and then we analyze them against our trend framework. And this is the 16 mega trends that we think define consumerism. So once we see an innovation, we analyze it, we bump it across with our other analysts from other region, we discuss it, and then we map it against our 16 mega trends. We can't really go into in-depth here, but feel free to ask me after the session. But this is just to give you a glimpse of our 16 mega trends. But for today, we're going to discuss just 4 trends, not 5. So the 4 trends that we're going to go through is first shop streaming, and then cities in the cloud, world on wheels, and Asian block party. So let's jump straight into the trends. Shop streaming. We all know that live streaming was a big thing. Last year in China, it makes all the headlines in a lot of media, and a lot of random people just put up their stories on live streaming. There are like uncles on the street who are collecting trash, and they make a lot of money just narrating their daily stories of collecting those trash. And then they can even send a virtual ang pao, the red packet, to one another. They can send a virtual Lamborghini. There's all sorts of weird things that's happening from China when we talk about live streaming. But if you see the numbers, it's actually dying down. It's not as popular as before. So what is the opportunity for this year? What is the emerging trend? We think that the real opportunity here is when live streaming meets with e-commerce. And that's how we call this trend shop streaming. So basically, we've seen a lot of examples recently, innovations on how people combine e-commerce and live streaming and create a sort of like retail entertainment, or some people call it retailtainment, on how you can actually go on social. You satisfy your desire for connecting with one another through live streaming, but you're actually shopping as well. And in Asia, this is especially so, more than the rest of the world, because in Asia we're so mobile. And this shown in this statistic that actually 52% of Chinese consumers, they shop using their smartphone on a weekly or daily basis, as compared to 14% of consumers globally. So the difference is quite huge. The way we use mobile in Asia is much more than elsewhere in the world. And an example that we've seen is this Tutu village. I don't know if I say it right, but basically this is a village in China, and last year what they did is they invited an Italian chef to visit their village, and they created a live stream show to actually highlight the local produce of their village, which is the kumquat, leading up to Chinese New Year. So the aim is to boost their e-commerce and their business and an economy in the village, and they make use of Taobao. There's a program that they created called the Rural Taobao. And so they are making use of storytelling and narrative to actually sell their products, and they're live streaming it in the Taobao platform. We've seen this famous Pearl Bro as well last year. I don't know if you've heard, but basically this guy, he has a muscle business, a pearl business, and then what he did is he actually live streamed a show. So people can jump on the live stream, and then they pay him to pick a muscle, and then it's kind of like a betting game. So you watch the show to see if the muscle that you pick actually has a pearl inside it or not. And it created such a, it's becoming so famous that he actually earned $44 million in 6 months. Just doing all this live streaming show. And it's interesting because then as Asians, we understand that we like this sort of entertainment. We like to connect with people, but we also want to shop. And shopping is more than just a necessity. It's more than just about convenience, but it's about connection as well. There's a social element to it. And lastly, from Zalora, they actually partner up with a show called How Do I Look? And basically they create a shoppable show where you can actually watch the show and then you can buy immediately from that show the kind of clothing and the whatever clothes that the model is wearing. And if you remember the Alibaba Single Day that's just a few months ago, it's making such a big headline globally because they create such an event around shopping, and they flew in like world-class celebrity, and it's making a lot of money in just one day. And it's really not just shopping, not just commerce, but there's a lot of social element to it. And so if in Singles Day can just do it in one day, what Zalora is doing is making it available every day, this kind of shopping, but also combined with social experience. And people say that Amazon is a marketplace, but Alibaba's Tmall is actually a social platform. And you won't just go to Amazon 4 to 5 times a day just because, right? You have a lot of other more important things to do. But people actually in China, they go to all this e-commerce platform a lot of times in the day because there's a social aspect to it, and they want to just go inside and watch the content and shop while they're at it. So the light bulb moment for this shop streaming trend is that how can your offerings actually serve consumers' need for authentic connection and also entertainment? And so this is how you can act on this opportunity this year. Moving on to the second trend, we call this trend cities in the cloud. Basically, the whole idea of cities in the cloud is that what if the future of Asian cities is no longer about the infrastructure, no longer about the buildings, the physical ones, but actually it's more about data and connectivity. Because in Asia, platforms collected like a massive amount of data. For example, Titi Choosing here, the Chinese ride-hailing platform, they did 7.43 billion rides in 2017. And if you compare it to Uber only actually did 4 billion worldwide. So there's massive amount of data that's being collected in Asia. What can brands do, or what can even those platforms do? So basically, Titi Choosing partner with the government in a local city in China to actually provide this data and control the traffic flow. So imagine actually local business that is non-government actually controlling the traffic flow of a city. And the potential is actually tremendous for other brands as well who are collecting massive data to actually build the future cities in Asia. We see in Dharavi in India, this is actually one of the world's biggest slum. And what they do is actually the Industrial Design Center partner with Google, and they set up beacons all across the slums. And using those beacons, if you walk past the slum, you don't need to download an app, you don't need any additional platform, but by just using your mobile phone, you can get notified because of the presence of those beacons, and then you will know what are the different shops that are available in this slum. Because actually, this slum is a heaven for retail, electronics, fashion. So a lot of people actually create crafted local products in this slum. And so this project highlighted the kind of business that the local people there are making. And lastly, we see in Thailand, Chatuchak Market, they just get a revamp because the Siam Commercial Bank actually created an app that allows the sellers there and also the buyers, if you download the app, to actually check out the products, the different products that are being used in the market, but also for the sellers to be able to use the mobile payment system through the app. And so from this trend, we see that more and more in Asia, with this large number of people, large amount of data being collected, the real opportunity for brands to take is how can you harness all this data and actually give your consumers a mobile-powered access into the different activities that they want to do in the city itself. And the third trend that we're going to go through today is called World on Wheels. Why World on Wheels? Because actually traffic is getting worse and worse in Asia. It's one of Asia's biggest and pressing problem, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. And in fact, people in Bangkok and Jakarta, they spend 24 days and 22 days respectively in traffic jams in a year. And for people in Jakarta, it's actually almost double their annual leave. So imagine if you as a brand can actually harness and capture this time that they have and capture 22 days of their attention by being present in their commute. So World on Wheels, the idea is about how in 2018 brands are doing all that they can to actually offer services and be present in consumers' life when they commute and offering solutions. So this trend is not just for people who are in automotive, it's not just for people who are in transport industries, because you can actually be creative in the way you want to be present in the consumer's life when they are commuting. And we see that people are actually very desperate for innovations. In Indonesia, if you have seen, this is called Tong Tol, and this is such an innovation that a lot of our colleagues from other offices, they really like this because it signals that, you know, even such a simple innovations that is non-tech at all, and it only saves you like 8 seconds of your commute, people are actually lavishing their attention on this innovation. And it shows that they really want something to happen during their commute. They want brands to actually serve them during their commute. And so basically what this device do is using this thing, you can tap the toll, because it's actually quite far from the car, so you have to kind of like reach out, open the door a little bit, and it's quite inconvenient for you. So they created this stick that is like a fly swatter style, and so you can easily just tap to pay for the toll fee. And so what are the innovations that we have seen recently from brands who are rolling out experiences or rolling out services around this trend? We see Ola partner with Microsoft. So Ola is an Indian-based car company. They actually offer not just productivity solutions, but also entertainment solutions for people who are stuck in traffic in India. And so by doing that, they are freeing up the time for commuters to actually achieve something else. In Abu Dhabi, this is a recent example as well. So this is actually world's first roadside gallery. So they created, there's a long stretch of highway in Abu Dhabi, and actually they put up a lot of billboards of like different paintings, different stuff that are in the museum, and they if you drive past the highway, you can tune into a radio and you'll be able to listen to what the thing that you're seeing is about. So it's all this innovation is about maximizing time for the consumers who are commuting and just finding creative solutions to serve them. And lastly, we see from the CES just recently, Toyota, they launched e-Palette, and e-Palette is basically electric vehicle, but it can serve as anything that you want it to be. So it can be an office, but it's a mobile one. It can be an advertisement space. It can also be a shop, for example. You can hail Maybelline e-Palette, for example, and then you can buy cosmetics from that Maybelline e-Palette. So it's a multi-purpose electronic vehicle. And so we see from the 3 examples how World on Wheels is really about whether you want to save your consumers' time, or you want to seize their attention, or you want to be both. You want to be a productivity solutions or an entertainment solutions, and by serving that, you are actually capturing Asians' commute time. So the light bulb moment for this trend is, what initiatives can you actually launch to make commute less painful and more productive for the Asian consumers? Now we are going to our last trend for today, and this trend is about blockchain. When we first saw this Bitcoin craze, we think in TrendWatching that Bitcoin isn't the trend going forward, but it's more on the system, the blockchain that is actually enabling this all this Bitcoin. So we saw actually last year, this is quite a surprising news. There's a stall in Malaysia. It's just a roadside stall, but it actually allows payment by Bitcoin. And so this is making headlines everywhere, and people are realizing that blockchain is the thing going forward. But what is this all about? Basically, as we say, that trend is all about manifestation of a fundamental human need, want, or desire. So for blockchain, basically, the real issue for Asia is about trust and transparency. The Edelman Trust Barometer shows that trust is going down, and it's now at an all-time low for NGOs, for government, for institutions and brands. And so with the declining of trust, what blockchain enables is a very secure system. And so if your innovation wants to tap on blockchain, think about how you can actually, through your innovations, tap into this idea of how you can provide trust for your consumers. In China, we see this go-go chicken. So basically, you can buy this organic chicken, and then you will be able to watch this chicken from its birth until its death. You can even watch it exercise, you can watch their diet, and so because it's a GPS, they put GPS sensor on the chicken, and so using this, they can actually track what's happening between all these chickens in China. But not just for that. In Indonesia, we see carbon conservation. What they do is they created a blockchain system where you can actually use blockchain to create a system and stop forest fires. So if the villagers in that area in Indonesia, they actually managed to reduce the incident of forest fires, the system by itself will automatically release the incentives for the Indonesian villagers. So this is all about enabling transparency in systems, enabling trust, gaining trust from your consumers. So for this trend, the light bulb moment is, how can you build consumer trust by providing transparency and traceability of your products and processes? Because more than the blockchain and Bitcoin craze, what consumers really want in Asia is to have trust and transparency. And so that's the 4 trends that we have just covered today. The first is shop streaming, and then cities in the cloud, world on wheels, and Asian block party. Please bear in mind that all of this is just a very, very brief introductions. There's more to this trend that we can talk about, that we can discuss. Feel free to get in touch with me afterwards if you want to know other resources, free resources that TrendWatching has that we can share with you as well. Or if you would like to have more information or more inspirations on innovations, you can follow us on Instagram. We have a Asia account where we actually publish 1 innovation a day from Asia and what does it mean for brands. We also have a global account if you would like to understand more trends and more innovations coming from across the globe. And lastly, if you're also interested to be part of our community, just feel free to talk to me afterwards. But for now, that's all that I will share with all of you. Thank you for being here today, and I'm going to open up the floor for Q&A. Thank you.